Hi there, this is Dr. Scott, and today we're going to talk about something fascinating called the QFS scams. I want to show you some of the scams. I've shown some of those before, but I'm going to show you a couple things you hadn't ever seen before. But I want to show you a weirder video. I want to say this was done by Alex Jones. Don't know for sure exactly. I think it is. It's talking about a Ponzi scheme and listen to how he presents it. So it's a very interesting way of presenting it. And the world is trying to push another one out there.
All three of the Abrahamic religions teach that lending to the poor is an act of compassion that serves the entire community, and therefore, charging interest was seen as immoral. It was called usury and was considered a heinous crime. The Roman Empire allowed usury, but in 1179, the Catholic Church decreed that usury was forbidden. This law did not apply to Jews. While the Torah admonishes usury, Talmudic law allows a Jew to practice usury with a non-Jew, and so money lending became primarily a Jewish business. Over the years, usury became more accepted in Western society, and we've changed the definition with the addendum of charging interest at an excessive rate. In the 17th century, the Bank of England began issuing paper fiat money. This gave the banks the ability to simply print money out of thin air. And for over a century, this was rightfully called out as fraud until it became public policy, known now as fractional reserve banking. What was once seen as immoral is now seen as normal. Many assume that the financial loans given out by the banks are coming from savings they hold for their depositors. But this is not true. When someone takes out a loan, the bank creates new money out of thin air and then charges the person interest to borrow it. Fractional reserve banking allows the banks to legally create 10 times the amount of each deposit. This inflating of the circulating currency devalues that currency and allows the banks an opportunity to profit dramatically. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 began a system of debt designed to inflate beyond its means until it implodes, the exact opposite of sound money. The banking cartel funded both sides of World War I, which led to the Great Depression, which led to the Emergency Banking Act of 1933, which ended the gold standard and made every dollar spent an IOU to further increase the debt, which is ultimately owed by the American people. The banking cartel funded both sides of World War II, which led to the Bretton Woods monetary system, which made the USD the world reserve currency, and gave central banks the option to go straight to the gold window of the US Treasury to exchange US dollars for physical gold. But by endlessly creating more debt, it became clear that the US had printed far beyond their gold reserves. And when several nations came to collect their gold, the federal government dishonorably closed the gold window. To maintain world reserve currency status, the US turned to its military, guns for hire to Saudi Arabia in return for the petrodollar, and war with any nation who threatens USD dominance. A Ponzi scheme is an investment fraud that pays existing investors with funds collected from new investors. And that's what the bankers created. They profit exponentially off the people's debt. It was designed to collapse, and that's what it's doing now. All the markets are crashing, and the derivatives market alone is in the quadrillions, which is much more than the total financial assets of the entire world. There is nothing left to prop up the dollar. This Ponzi scheme is at its end.
Wow. Isn't that fascinating? That Ponzi scheme we're going to talk about today in another way that these idiots are doing it. And it's fascinating to realize with that too. So as we kind of get into this, I want to show you some recent QFS scams that have been happening. Now, I was told a long time ago, 2 or 3 years ago, something like that, that I was not supposed to take any marketing on my channel. I would love to. Listen, I mean, I really could use that. There's a few people that donate. It's very small amounts. YouTube gives me a tiny bit, like a fifth of the number that a channel my size would actually get. And that's been confirmed in several different sources. And then I, get book sales of my book, Revelations of Red Pill, and a few other books that I have written 18 books. But that's all I'm getting, kind of thing, because God said not to do it. Not because it's wrong for anyone else to do it. God told me not to do that. Okay. I started realizing, because I've been talking about the QFS in a way that other people haven't done it, that he needed to have a level of protection for me. Let me show you some of the stuff that's happened in the past. I mean, I was at my high school reunion and they had no idea. I mean, some of them didn't, what I have been into and dealing with. By the way, if you really want to know who I am and where, I mean, you're talking to the right person. If you're not on one of these channels, you have a faker. Literally, I'm telling you right now, not going to direct message you or email you unless you've come through these channels. Okay. I can't say that any more directly. Block and delete them. Don't send it to me, because I'm going to show you why. There are literally thousands of them. Okay. Now, it might not be easy to see this on the screen. This is just a screenshot of this. And here's what they do. It's got my picture and every single one of them. It says some of the same stuff. Now, here's the one on the very top was my legit channel, Dr. Scott Young, that was at Dr. Scott Young. That's the only legit I had before they canceled me off of this channel. And then look at how they do it. Dr. Scott Young QFS 01, Dr. Scott Young, 8, that all these other ones. And people have claimed that I, changed my moniker and I have all these extra channels because I'm trying to scam you with that too. And yet I put out numerous videos to talk against this kind of stuff. And I say it everywhere. So I'm going, if I'm telling you not to do it, and yet it's happening, who are you going to believe? The liars that keep doing this, or the person that's telling you on camera, don't do it? Don't fall for this silliness. This is only a screenshot. Let me show you another one. This is Scott McKay. And frankly, right now, I don't know which one is hit. I really don't off the top of my head. I know there's Scott McCreery kind of moved in there, but this is only just a tiny bit of the silliness that's happening for every single one of the truthers I know of. And it's happening all over the place. And the question is why is this Ponzi scheme, just like you saw the Ponzi scheme a second ago, why is this Ponzi scheme happening? This is something that I'm just showing you a little bit of information that was coming to us on the side of the screen over here on the right side. R&R News Daily claims that banks have to be Basel compliant by October 1. Do you think the credit union is? I mean, they say they're not Basel compliant. Can you send the video Sherry Ray sharing the same advice? And it gets like crazier, right? And then, we actually kind of, message them back directly. And they're really nice about this. But my sister-in-law is an executor, I'm not sure what that is, of someone's will with this. And they're talking about their particular bank. They don't have, they're not going to be Basel compliant. Maybe I got to move all my money over to Wells Fargo. Blah, 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 blah. You're like, calm down, right? This is an interesting statement too. The donation is reflected on my account. I've not retracted it. If I'm requesting, if you can confirm my friend, by the way, I never use that kind of wording. It's just a way that they say it, right? And confirm my friend who pays Charlie to he pays to follow Charlie Ward. No one has to pay to follow these guys, okay? And telling them my bank account transfer to Wells today because I lost everything if I don't. This is the kind of craziness that it's like, it's when I look at the stuff, I almost can't slow people down to calm down just for a half a second and listen to me, right? This is just what an attorney general of Wyoming said. So Thomas is basically, so it's hard to see it maybe, but enclosed is a consumer complaint involving your business. In reviewing the complaint, it's helpful to our office to understand the company's point of view on this matter. Please provide our office with a written response addressing the complaint within 30 days. After this thing, this was in January 24, I responded in that time frame. And this is, AG of Wyoming. One of the things you have to understand, the AG of Wyoming, without any super hard trouble, figured out my address. They figured out my email address, and they emailed it to one of my business accounts. Excuse me. Now, here's the thing. Thomas didn't do any of that. Let me kind of go off and we'll pull off this part here. I want to show you just a couple of the messages that he's doing here. So it starts off with a clap. Again, it looks like real Dr. Scott, right? Starts off with a clap. That should be a clue. Hi, how are you? Hope my posts are useful, informative. Right? Glad to have you, blah, blah, blah. Then it kind of goes in, where are you at? How's the economic situation over there? So they kind of get into a conversation. Rent's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Right? Everything in the world's getting bad. Have you heard the news blowing up now? Well, what's up? All the banks and credit unions are going down, as well as the stock markets, the funds, and most investments. So he created a level of fear and then brought up the financial system of XRP and XLM. And so he's bringing in, or this group of people, and we know they're offshore. I found one of them that was in the UK. I think this one here was in the UK, but again, that could be a different sourcing point that I don't exactly know. It could be just, a Ponzi scheme after Ponzi scheme level of corporations, right? And I'm not even part of the credit union. They don't even know about XRP. So he must have asked. Thomas must have asked a little questions with that too. And so there's a long conversation that kind of goes on here further. And he supposedly gave $7,000 into this. And he was asking for the money back. And I was like, wait a second. If you were going to spend that kind of money and you think that you're talking to me and you think that you're talking to the right person, wouldn't you want to check it out? I mean, the AG found me without any real trouble, but this guy didn't find it. Now, I want you to see some of the idiocy that they do. That's why I'm a metaphysical teacher here, helping everyone to switch over the new financial system. I have never said that ever, right? I recommend you get your assets on Telegram, download the Telegram on your Play Store, blah, 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 go and do this little process. And obviously he did. Then he tells them the exact one that's out there. And hello, can we proceed with the replies? And you see like the craziness in this whole situation. I have a woman, and this is through a third party. This is the woman's sister. She tells me a story that I happen to talk to her sister every single morning or something like that. Like, no, I don't. Like, first off, there's no one I'm talking to every single morning other than my wife, okay? Or the puppies. What? And you have to understand what it's feeling like for us. We're sitting here, we're guilty until proven innocent, right? Because they've got our face, they're typing in messages. Some of them go as far, and I've talked to a couple of them saying that they're actually using exact wording. You can use voice inflections the same way that Scott does it, right? I mean, and there's when they went on to my TikTok, they stole my videos, popped them on there, and then loaded on their own messages on top of the videos. And you go, wait a second. Why is someone in the FBI, the CIA, the NSA pick the agency, the SEC, pick the agency that should be protecting you? How about Congress or Senate? How come they're not doing any of this stuff? It's because the cabal is losing. When the QFS really comes online for you, you don't have to do anything about it. Just like you didn't have to do anything to create your credit report. Can I just tell you, explain that? Did you do something to create a credit report? No. No, as a small business, there are times that we pull a credit report of a patient, obviously because they've asked to finance, hearing aids. So it's an unsecured loan. And I'm not pulling it. I'm asking a third party agency to pull that credit report and give me an approval. I'm putting an amount. They will say you can spend up to X dollars. I don't know why, how much. I don't know how bad or good your credit report is. I'm never told that. It's just a yes or no, and they say how much. And so one of the things that happens, you have to ask yourself, did you ever approve your credit report? The answer is no. It was created for you because of the systems of the world. The QFS is the same way. It is a window into the financial portfolio view of everything. It is not your bank account. It's not going to be a bank account. It's not going to be a particular throughput of you. You have to only use a QFS. You could use a bank account directly. But what the QFS is a sign-on capability. So like when you pick up, your iPad or whatever, right? And you pick up an iPad and you're on the app to do something, right? And whatever that is, whether it's a game or a program or whatever that might be. Even if it's your bank, you're utilizing their portal to get into your account information, right? Does that make sense? The QFS is going to be a portal into your financial situation, your credit report, your bank accounts, and all of your finance, your 401k, simple IRA things. And here's the thing: it is not going to be something that is going to be allowed for anyone else to be there because it's called a distributed blockchain ledger, meaning that you could track down anyone in there who might have accessed it. You could even go to the person and say, why did you guys access it? They will have to have permission directly from you to access into the system. That's how scary it is for them. It is going to be a sovereign-based situation. You see, the Bible talks about the mark of the beast. That will occur in the future, but that is a global system. CBDCs are global systems through the central banking. We're deleting the central bank. We're going to be under a constitutional type of currency that is under the treasury that you and I control. This is why they're terrified of this, and they're allowing these QFS scams. Guys, please listen to me. Stop going forward with the silliness here, okay? Block and delete the idiots who are trying to get you to be fearful. I mean, I hear people all the time telling you something, and I just saw messages this morning. I saw someone, a four-letter name of a guy, and I don't want to dignify it. And he goes, I mean, he's putting out, and actually two of them said, it was fear porn. I'm going, okay, first off, you know, you all know what porn is, right? And you know what that means. Like it's something you probably shouldn't do. It's something that feeds a level of lust in you, right? But when I use the word fear porn or anger porn, what it does is it feeds that piece of your life. Now, if we talk about, regular porn, or we talk about fear porn, or we talk about anger porn, what it's doing is feeding a negative emotion, right? Do you think that's something of God? Do you think that's something, forget about even if you don't believe in God or whatever, you feel about this. Do you think that's something that's beneficial for you to get into? And if you said, yes, I need to listen to all the fear porn, what for? I mean, literally, what for? Now, the world tells you this one thing. And if you haven't listened to my Elon Musk kind of conversations, he talks about the woke mind virus. Here's the thing, media has been playing with you for a very long time. And we'll see social media morons doing the same kind of thing. And some of them are my friends, but they're actually acting like a moron here. And I'm sorry, but it's a real struggle because it feeds into a piece of your life that makes you want to go deeper and deeper for that. And my response is stop doing it. That's why I say block and delete. How do you deal with temptation? You run from temptation, which is the same thing as block and delete. It's literally the same kind of thing. It's I'm pushing that aside so I can move forward, right? Sorry, my voice is really kind of losing it. I've just getting over being sick. That's why I use ivermectin. I did it. It's my wife and I are definitely on that kind of stuff. But when you block and delete, you are moving forward and you're running from the temptation to listen to it. Because the media tells you, you have to hear this. You have to know about this kind of stuff. And my response is, why do I have to know about every fearful thing that could mess with my life? I have enough things keeping me awake at night that I've got to deal with. Even the Bible says you're trying to worry about tomorrow, but there's enough concerns today to focus on. Let the Lord figure out tomorrow. Focus on today. Listen, when this thing happens, everyone's going to know it. There's no one not going to know it. It is a sovereign-based situation with the QFS. It is not the mark of the beast. And it is something that it'll be in your control. And what did President Trump say at his inauguration in January of 2017? I'm putting the power back into the people. Does that sound anything like the QFS thing where you got to pull your money out and get like this? Does that sound anything like that? If it doesn't sound anything like what President Trump had talked about, and it doesn't sound like anything I'm trying to talk about, maybe you should push those things aside because of the fear porn that they have for you. Does that make any sense? Is it a good thought? I think it is. Okay?